Well, the new Country Bear Musical Jamboree has debuted at Walt Disney World, the refreshed version of the Country Bear Jamboree. And the reviews are coming in, and the internet seems to be fairly unanimous that it's a really good show, a really good update and refresh of the Country Bear Jamboree. Um, except for me, well, hate is a strong word because my response was actually largely indifference. But it certainly, I was appalled at what I saw and what they've done to the Country Bear Jamboree and how they've taken out all of the charm and authenticity and subversiveness of the original attraction. I thought hard about whether or not I wanted to even do this video. In fact, this video is coming out like a couple weeks after the first videos have been surfacing of the new Country Bear show. Because I want to keep things more positive on this channel. I mean, I do criticize like Universal Studios a lot, but it's because I care about the monsters. um, but I want to go for like the low hanging fruit of criticizing Disney because there's a lot of channels that do that, and it's so easy to do these days. So I thought that rather than just plainly criticizing the new Country Bear musical Jamboree, I would talk about why the original show was so great, and then there have the contrast with what is wrong with the current version. And for me, I still am a fan of the things that I still love the things that I have loved about Disney. That hasn't gone away. I still value the trips that I've taken. Right here beside my desk, I have uh, the signpost from the Disney studio there at Pluto's Corner. I've actually been there. Here, I'll put a photo right there. I've actually been to the studio and seen this and hung off it, hung off it in real life. I've been to Disneyland, Disney World, Tokyo Disney, and Disneyland Paris. Disneyland Paris is where I was engaged. Disney World is where my wife and I went on our honeymoon. And these places have meant a lot to me. I've also been to the Disney Family Museum in San Francisco, and I want to go to Marceline, Missouri, Disney's boyhood hometown. So I still love it, and I still, Fantasia is still my favorite Disney movie, not Disney movie, my favorite movie, period. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, all the vintage classic cartoons. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is one of the greatest movies ever made. So I haven't lost that, and my love for the original attractions as well. It's just more and more seeing what the Disney company is doing is putting that all in the past tense. I love the things that Disney has made past tense. And not a big fan of what they're doing to it. And, the Country Bear Jamboree, especially, is what was, they was a fantastic show. Um, every park, like, has its show. You go to California, you go to Disneyland, California, and its show is the Enchanted Tiki Room. By far. It is a fantastic show, enchanting, marvelous, wonderful, and really tied to, the Pacific Coast context of Disneyland. And these are California tiki culture context that Disneyland finds itself in. And Disneyland is steeped so much in this sort of tiki culture. All of Adventureland, the Jungle Cruise has more of a tiki vibe in California. There's the Tropical Hideaway little restaurant there now beside the Enchanted Tiki Room. It's Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar. That tiki thing is really vibrant and contextual for Disneyland. For Florida, they have the Enchanted Tiki Room, but it's not the same in Florida. It just doesn't have that oomph, that je ne sais quoi. That really makes it like the show for Florida. The show for Florida is the Country Bear Jamboree. Absolutely marvelous, charming show. And authentic. It's the authentic early country music, the Appalachian music, the hillbilly music. It's the celebration of America's musical heritage. And all these authentic songs, some of which are actually the original track as well. Blood on the Saddle, Big Owl, that is Tex Ritter singing. That's the original track. Go YouTube it. how he sings Blood on the Saddle, that's the original track as sung by Tex Ritter. This wonderful tribute. And there is a Disney song in there, Davy Crockett, and that's fine because Davy Crockett itself was echoing that Appalachian, that Ozark, that Smoky Mountains, Tennessee, early country music kind of vibe. It's the real deal. It's not the Disney songs, right? It's the authentic music sung by these absolutely just marvelous characters designed by Mark Davis, who was a genius. Mark Davis was an absolute genius of visual gags and visual storytelling and character design. Um, he designed one of Disney's best characters, Maleficent. That was his design, Mark Davis. And the attractions, the pirates in Pirates of the Caribbean, the ghosts in the Haunted Mansion, and the country bears were all his designs. And the comic scenes of the Jungle Cruise, also him. Absolutely brilliant man. And none of his work is safe with current Disney. It's almost like it's deliberate how they're targeting everything Mark Davis did for sanitization and removal and vandalism. So you have these marvelous characters in the Country Bear Jamboree, each one so distinct, such a distinct character, a distinct look, a distinct personality. One of my favorites, well, I mean, Henry's great, but there's Teddy Barra, who is inspired by Mae West, the movie star of Hollywood's golden age, who was herself renowned for her subversive and sexually charged performances. Mae West was incredibly edgy for the 1930s, and her sort of portrayal of a sexually empowered woman in the 1930s. Won't you come up and see me sometime? That's her line, which is like a woman saying that to you in the 1930s. Like, oof, okay, yeah, I'll be right up. So find a ladder. Yeah. And that is other aspect to the show, which I don't think a lot of people necessarily clued into, which was how subversive the Country Bear Jamboree actually was, by virtue of the source material it was pulling from. I mean, the show is replete with just this really sarcastic humor of these characters all biting into each other with sarcasm, in everything from how the heads were heckling the show, the banter between the bears, some of the songs like "Mama Don't Whoop Little Buford," stuff like that, like this subversive, almost violent, sarcastic edge to a lot of the humor in there. But also, it's sexually subversive. Teddy Barra is an example of that. All the guys that turn me on, turn me down. Like, adults can't hear that and not laugh because of the double entendres in there. In fact, it's not even double entendre anymore. Now, because the evolution of language, turn me on means specifically something sexual. Even in the more original, like the version that you would get on this record right here, there was the "If You Can't Bite, Don't Growl" song about a guy going out, well, a bear in this case, going out and enjoying flirting with the ladies, and then like, oh, sorry, I can't take this further because I'm married. And it's like, well, if you're married, why are you even flirting with people? That song was in the original version. It was taken out in 2012, just to tighten up the show a little bit. But you have this this sexually subversive undercurrent through the Country Bear Jamboree. Like, you would not expect to find that in a Disney animatronic show about singing bears. You have that subversive sexuality, you have that subversive, sort of bitingly sarcastic humor through the whole thing, and then this edge of chaos as well. I mean, Big Al singing "Blood on the Saddle," like in a Disney attraction, blood on the saddle, blood on the ground, blood all around. And the ending, Old Slewfoot, is just like this total chaos of just everybody singing, and Big Al trying to sing "Blood on the Saddle" over top of it, and it's just total chaos. Absolutely comedically brilliant show, and a brilliantly paced show as well. They learned from the Enchanted Tiki Room. The Enchanted Tiki Room, it plays these full musical numbers out, and that's wonderful. It's wonderful and enchanting, and I love the Enchanted Tiki Room. But they learned from that when they did the Country Bear Jamboree, and made it like just much more fast paced. So you get these snippets of these songs before it's on to the next one, and this quick humor just constantly going at it. And it's a beautifully kinetic sort of show, a frenetic sort of show that ends this total chaos with all this subversive sarcasm and sexuality and all these things in it, with these charming character designs and the authentic music from the region. It fits so well in that southern U.S., eastern U.S. sort of context. Just so many reasons to love this show. And I absolutely fell in love with it. The first time I ever saw the Country Bear Jamboree was actually in Japan, the Japanese version. And it was like, it was cool, but it's mostly in Japanese, so it was kind of hard to really get into it as a non-native Japanese speaker. Um, when I saw it in Florida, it like everything clicked, and it was just like, this show is amazing. And I lost track of how many times we watched it when we were in Disney World. It was multiple times every day we were in Magic Kingdom, and we were in Magic Kingdom like 4 or 5 days out of our trip. Um, like just anytime we wanted to get out of the heat, it was like we go see the Carousel of Progress like once. We'd see Mickey's PhilharMagic a couple times. We'd see the Enchanted Tiki Room a couple times, and we were watching the Country Bear Jamboree like every hour, every 2 hours, like coming back to it, get out of the heat, the blistering Florida heat, but also to just absorb this wonderful show that we were seeing with these wonderful characters and this subversive humor and this authentic music. It's absolutely wonderful, charming show. So, of course, because I liked it, Disney had to get rid of it and replace it with nothing. And that's the part that is just mind-boggling to me. So, the Country Bear Musical Jamboree, the new version, just completely sanitized. Just all of that subversive humor, all that subversive sexuality, just wiped clean out. None of it is there. There's like there might be like a couple jokes that are kind of funny. Like I did like the fiddle smoking. That was funny. But that was like the only thing. Everything else is just this sanitized, like non-humor, which is par for the course with Disney nowadays. The where just nothing happens in these new things. In Pirates of the Caribbean, they took out the original auction scene, which was itself a Mark Davis masterpiece of tableau humor that was just rife with all this subversive comedy in it, where the more portly women are looking forward to being auctioned off so they can get a husband, and the redhead, who is obviously a woman of the night, is using her sexual prowess to take control of this situation. Um, it's just this master, like regardless of what you think about the content of it in terms of violence against women, um, the situation, like the scene itself, the way it's designed, is just this masterpiece of subversive humor. And personally, I think if they really wanted to run with what they had and to amplify the subversiveness of it, then later on in the attraction, you have the redhead, but now she's a pirate and she has all the pirates like fawning at her feet and bringing her all the treasure. That would have been actually like following with that and building on that to create something like empowering and subversive. But instead, we just get this auction scene that makes no sense, because why would pirates be bidding on an auction instead of just stealing stuff? With the redhead, who is now a pirate and she has a gun, which makes her empowered because this is America, and having a gun makes you empowered, and that's America for you. So all that subversiveness is gone, and it's just replaced with nothing because it's a comedy dead zone. In fact, the whole like a hen for a 10, that's like anti-comedy. It's like Disney studied like what is the opposite of comedy and distilled it into a hen for a 10. It's anti-comedy. The Jungle Cruise, they take out some of the jokes and replace it with just chimpanzees doing nothing. Um, Splash Mountain, where Tiana's Bayou Adventure is, it's about nothing. Nothing happens in it. You're supposed to be going in this boat to find animals for a show, and there's no villains, there's no threat, there's no intensity to it. The last drop is just the quick way to get to the party. There's just like nothing happens in this ride, and yeah, like I don't even have feelings about Tiana's Bayou Adventure other than nothing happens in it. And it would have been fine as like a 3-minute Fantasyland dark ride, but as a 15-minute replacement for Splash Mountain, not really. And the Country Bear Musical Jamboree is the same thing. Nothing happens in this show. There's nothing interesting in this show. The authentic music is gone. Now it's just pop country renditions of Disney songs. So there's nothing interesting, there's nothing subversive. It's just Disney songs, but now sung badly. Because modern pop country is just like shitty pop music with a southern twang. Um, so the music is terrible. There's nothing going on there. It's just Disney songs. The the updated style of the Country Bears is like this non-subversive satire of country music, right? Like, so the costumes were designed by Kevin and Jody, who I love. Like everything they do, I love. And for the look they were going for, they nail it. It's excellent. But it's just the question is why that look? Because okay, it's now instead of like these hillbilly backcountry bears from the Appalachians or the Ozarks or whatever, now it's like they're supposed to be like these slick like 1950s 1960s country music singers in that very 50s 60s country music style with like the jackets with the sequins and the tassels and that sort of stuff. And that look was outdated by the 70s. Like that look was outdated before Disney World was even built. um by the 70s you start getting more into um this sort of more realism in country and western music. um it's more the era of Hank Williams Jr. rather than Hank Williams Sr. um so it's like, and by the 70s, like that look of the old school country with the sequins and the tassels and everything, like that was an object of derision by that point. So it's like, and it still is, like nobody dresses like that, even ironically. Well, no, I've seen a few examples of like bands ironically, like country music singers ironically doing that, um, deliberately to look cringe and weird. Um, so it's like, it's just like this mean insult to country music. Um, so okay, so the charm is gone. It's been replaced by this sort of like sanitized mean mockery of country music that has rendered Disney songs in like shitty pop country style. And there's none of that subversive humor. There's none of that charm. The characters are all gone because when they sanitized it of the subversiveness, they sanitized it of the characters. Now they're just images on the stage. So the charm is gone, the characters are gone, the subversive humor is gone, the authenticity of the music is gone. There's just like nothing happening in the Country Bear Musical Jamboree. It's just a big nothing. And that's sort of par for the course with Disney, as I've been explaining, that they take out these wonderful things, most of which are made by Mark Davis, and we're just replace it with a nothing. Just with a big nothing burger. And I guess that makes it easy for me in terms of working through the stages of grief, reaching acceptance and indifference, right, and moving on. That learning to accept, and more so now, Disney is just this thing of the past, right? Now, this is the Country Bear Jamboree. This is what I have, and this is where I'll meet those characters again, and it's a thing of the past, and that is what it is, and I won't experience the actual attraction anymore and see it anymore. And okay, that just is what it is, right? Like I'm not planning to go back to Florida anymore. Um, wouldn't mind seeing Trader Sam's Grog Grotto with the 20,000 Leagues references, but not for the price of a Disney World vacation. That's for sure. And now the Country Bears are gone. Um, it's just not worth it, right? They put the Hatbox Ghost in the wrong place in the Haunted Mansion. Yeah, that's is what it is. And it's learning to accept that and seeing the new version as just like, well, this is this appalling sort of thing, but even appalling is a strong word, right? It's just, yep, they took out something I liked and replaced it with nothing. And if you give nothing, you get nothing, and that's what you're kind of getting from me is, well, a 20-minute rant, but um like, yeah, it's just time to move on and just accept that the Disney that I loved is a thing of the past. And whatever is wearing the skin suit now isn't doing anything interesting. And the Country Bear Musical Jamboree is a perfect example of that. They replaced a show of wonderful charm and authenticity and subversiveness with just a big nothing.